Ready? Okay, good morning, everyone. Call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and the public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. The second item on the agenda today is an approval of the previous meeting's minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, great. Moving right along. Okay, so today on the agenda item number 3 is we have Ms. LaVonda Brown with us today from the YWCA of Greater Charleston to present her application for ATAX funds for her MLK event. LaVonda, you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah.
LaVonda,
Morning.
tap on that.
I
mic.
just did it a second ago. It should work unless the battery just died.
No, we
Nope.
can't. I tell you what,
I tapped it a
LaVonda,
second ago.
if you don't mind,
Pull up a chair, join the
yeah, pull up
table.
a chair and just speak into the microphone, otherwise it doesn't
Okay.
into that microphone.
Okay.
Otherwise it doesn't capture. Batteries are.
We're
Well,
ready.
good morning.
Good morning.
Yes,
Good
I'm
morning.
ready. Do I start? Do you start? Where do we start?
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, just thank you for another opportunity. This is a new part of our MLK tribute. We've done 3, I believe, so far, and 3 receptions here on Isle of Palm. And it has been very well received. We've learned a lot from the last 3 years, particularly terms like heads and beds, things like that. So we've learned that and have begun working on strategies to really improve that. We've had nothing but great feedback from folks who've come from, far away, close by, folks who are just saying that this is just a really great way to mingle with folks they probably would not mingle with ordinarily, because we invite our sponsors, our board members, our staff, the public. We do sell tickets. So it's just a very, and it's just fun. It's really fun. We do get it this year. We were able to honor an artist that uses his art towards social justice and equity initiatives, as well as an art organization in this Tri-County and Somerville that are doing the same things. They offer a lot of free services and space for artists. So that event now has a full point of bringing even more people in. The artist that we honored this year was from, and so we're, reaching out again. Somerville was the other organization. So we've learned a lot, and we're excited about doing it again. And I'm definitely here to answer any questions you have about the application and about our plan for the 2027 MLK. We've been doing this for, I think January will be our 56th MLK tribute. And this particular component of it. So we're excited to have. Am I speaking loud enough?
You
to
are.
the mic?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep,
All
that's
right.
good. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any questions from the committee?
Yes, I have a couple, and
Sure.
it may be misunderstanding, so I want you to clear it up. Are your does your organization, is it more or less a closed organization only for MLK members?
No.
No, anyone?
Anyone, yes. We have members, we have a member in Ghana. She is a member of the YWCA. She took one of our online courses, and she's a member. So we have members from all over, and all of our events are open to the public.
So YWCA is the sponsor of it, or you guys run it,
Mhm.
and but the people who attend your event, there's no restrictions on who attend.
No, there's
who
no
attend it.
restrictions. on
Okay.
what we said. And what we learned last year is we put our individual ticket sales on sale too late. And we've learned through the back end of our system that we can cap we got kind of a little paranoid, like if we just open it and we go over the, building capacity or something like that. So we kind of waited, but what we learned from our system, which we use Neon CRM, we use JotForm, that we can block, we can say, okay, 20 tickets or 100 tickets, but we can stop that once we see we're getting close to a critical mass for that space.
Well, last year you said that you had, what, 2 to 3, and as a term, heads and beds.
Right,
Now you've got like 3 to 4.
yes.
That's still a very low
It is.
amount.
It is. It's low even for our target of 10. So I can tell you what this is early in the year. And so, which we didn't get our application in as early. I think we went the second round for the first 2 years. So it was really late for us to get that information in our MLK sponsorship information on our website is easy, but getting mailers out and doing that kind of marketing. So now we're working on our flyer actually next week. So working on our flyer. So whatever information that we can get out earlier, we definitely believe that we can improve that number. Yeah, we do recognize that's a low number.
Okay.
Yes.
Gary, Margaret, any questions from you? Mike, are you able to speak? Anything from your side?
No, I'm just anxious to learn more about it, and if there's anything I could do to help grow that number.
Awesome. Oh, yes.
I think it could be really good, but I'd like to know more of the details that I haven't reviewed them.
Yeah.
Have you approached the hotel? They may do
Yes.
discounted rooms.
Yes, we
Yes.
have. And that was another thing that we got very late, got
Right.
started with late. So by the time we got that information out to our sponsors, it was probably 8-10 days.
Oh, yeah, that's
So if now we can get that link, get that information, we can start sending it out. Our plan is to send out our MLK mailers in September. So it'll come right after our women's event. So people will still be kind of hyped about hearing from us, hopefully. So that's our goal.
sure. Well, I've heard good things about the event, and I think
Awesome.
it's prestigious for the Isle of Palms to be involved.
Thank you.
So,
We feel the same, and we feel honored to be a part of it. I have been at the YWCA for 10 years, and my goal from day one has been to not be perceived as a Charleston organization. We're a tri-county organization, and so we are trying our best to make sure that our services and our programs cross all the bridges. As we know, Charleston is divided that way, figuratively and
literally.
reality.
For sure.
Yes.
And you mentioned, I believe you mentioned your application, a relationship with Explore Charleston.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
correct. So I know we've got Chris over here. I'm not putting you on the spot, Chris, but in case y'all haven't met, you should meet.
Yeah, we have.
Y'all know each other. Good.
Yes, Yes.
'Cause I think it's fantastic. I think it's such a different, it's just a different demographic than we would have out here normally. And I think that's a great thing, right? I mean, the island is open for visitors. And so I think it's wonderful, and obviously recognize MLK. Okay. I don't know that we have any more questions for you at this point in time. And so what we normally would do at this point is when we get into the consideration of the old business is when we would potentially vote, but we also would have the chance. Nicole, if I'm not mistaken, we can wait to vote.
Since
after
that's
we've had-
been the pattern, like I said in my email to all of you,
Yeah.
you could, if you want to consider it now, certainly
Okay.
you're able to do that. But if you would rather have more time to discern that and do it next month, then
Okay,
still
okay.
within the budgeted time to.
Okay, we'll get into that when our old business part. But I thank you, and your application was very thorough, so we appreciate the effort there.
Thank you.
We understand, you probably don't have an extensive staff to support all these things. We recognize that, so we want to be here to support you in any way we can. So yeah, good. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
all.
And as I understand it, Deborah's not with us today, so we're going to skip over the financial statements and move directly to old business. Is this the time we want to discuss about, nope, that's under new business. Okay, Nicole's here to keep me between
Do
the,
y'all have any, if you all have, like I said, if you have concerns about it or questions about the financial statements, please just email them to me. I'll compile
Okay.
everything for Deborah to answer next month.
great, thank you, Nicole. All right, we'll get into the old business. So we have either 3 or 4, depending on how the group wishes to proceed through this. But this is the time when we would consider the applications that we received. And then once we get through them, then we can have a motion to vote. We vote and again, I want to make sure I'm clear on this. We vote as a slate or we vote as individuals? We vote as individuals,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Individuals.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to go through the discussion. Do we want to discuss each of them? Sorry, Douglas, we haven't had a chance to talk. We want to discuss, vote, discuss, then vote, discuss, then vote.
Yeah, well, motion to consider.
Right.
Discussion, then vote.
Okay,
Motion to, so for each of those,
Okay.
motion to consider,
okay.
discussion, then a vote.
Okay. All right. So we'll go through it that way then. So the first one on the list is the IOP Chamber of Commerce.
Move to discuss.
Move to discuss. So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right.
We're good at this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's ready? You made a motion to discuss. So I'm assuming that you have something to say.
I was just trying to be polite.
Oh,
No,
just get it.
well, I think we talked about this last month, and I think that the chamber should get hooked up with the Charleston visitors. They're making a video about the island. That's really it. And it may be a very pretty video, but the bottom line of bottom lines is it's also an advertisement to join the Chamber of Commerce. So I have a little bit of a problem there with that. But,
Yeah,
and it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I would just interject that I'm aware that the chamber has reached out to Explore Charleston. I know they've had conversations. I think they are, and a large part of the concern is they potentially are competing against each other, driving up the prices for each other. If they're both competing for Google slots, Google's going to recognize that and start charging more per view. So I think there's a little bit of a concern that these two entities could be competing against each other, driving up the cost for the other. So I know they've had conversations. I don't think that they have come to a formal agreement, but from a discussion I had with Lori earlier in the week, it looks very promising that the CVB will be able to support some effort by the chamber. I don't know to what extent. I don't know the details of that, and not really privy to that at this point. But I know that conversations are being had. I know that, and I know that they seem to be favorable and kind of heading in the right direction. So I think y'all's direction kind of was the impetus for that happening, and I think that is happening. And we could report back the final determination of what exactly happens when it happens. But I know those discussions are underway.
So we can just go move on to the next one. Is there any decision that we need to make?
Yeah, I think that's the question. And I'm aware, Douglas, that you mentioned that there have been discussions, and I think it has been positive. I think that the question is to make sure we're on the same page here in terms of what the chamber's mission is and what CVB's mission is. And the way I see it is that the chamber's here to support the local businesses, and that they could be collaborating back with CVB to make sure, to your point, that we're not overlapping and at cross purposes.
Right.
They're still on the agenda. So as far as I would think, to answer your question, Rebecca, and Mike, I don't know if you want to weigh in or not, but I think that what I would say is that based on my understanding is those conversations have proceeded, and that I think we as a group feel like that we don't want overlap. There's no point in having people at cross purposes. Then we should have a vote to say, based on those conversations, do we think that any ATAX money should go directly to this versus the ATAX money that's flowing to CVB already, and let them be a part of it?
Right. I would agree with that. I mean, at some point you will need to make a recommendation
Right.
on their application.
Right.
And I don't know if you want to do that now. I mean, you could certainly do it now, or you could wait to see, what the result of those conversations are. And maybe it's that the result of those conversations don't kind of either way, you see it as the same path that they would go through the CVB with whatever. So I think you could either do it now or you could do it later, but I would agree you do need to vote on the request.
Yeah.
I still think it's a logical issue. I mean, taking all the marketing and competitiveness out of it, you've got two people doing the same job, and that's one organization too many. If they're doing the same job and we're paying the amount of money that we're paying to CVB, and then turn around and look at $55,000+ over to the chamber, that's completely illogical. I mean, that's just.
So maybe you want to recommend against it just on its face, not, not.
Well, I was gonna say, that's the question I would kind of had from this, following the discussion is, there's two questions is, one, is this a good project in itself? Is it standalone? Is it a good idea? Should the city be supporting it?
Mhm.
The second issue comes of where does it get funded from? And those are to me two separate. So again, from y'all's recommendations, should this be funded out of this pot of money, or should it not be funded at all because it's not a good idea, or it's a good idea, but it should be funded somewhere else?
I think it should, now that's my opinion.
That's kind of
And
where
my
I
vote
was
would be
looking
funded
from
somewhere
a
else.
recommendation
Yeah.
from the committee is it a good idea, period, or should it be rejected
I think
wholesale?
that's the challenge, David, is that I think that the way it's presented, it's an overlap. And my personal opinion is that it is across purposes. I think if it were more finitely focused on the local businesses, then that almost excludes it from a tax because it doesn't put heads in beds. The way that it's presented, it seems like it's driving heads in beds, but that puts them at cross purposes with CDB.
So I was gonna say, I haven't issued the heads and beds. That's ATAX. There's not heads and beds and ATAX are two different. ATAX supports our tourists. That includes local tourists that they don't have to spend the night here to be considered a tourist. So if we're attracting tourists to the island, regardless of whether they spend the night, that's a valid use of ATAX.
A tax at a high level.
In
but
some
it-
situations,
but for-
yeah, but heads and beds is sort of the primary thing, the way
for the
we've always
grants, for our
judged for our
specific
grants.
So for our $75,000, those are specifically grants to put heads in beds.
Okay.
The ATAX dollars that the CDB does, and Douglas, please correct me
That's
here, you've
correct.
been at this longer than I have. That's the one, that's why, in my opinion, the chamber's money or the chamber's project should be focused on, you've got the heads and beds, now what are we going to do once we get here in terms of the visitors to the island? We're not here to drive day visitors to the island. We're fine with day visitors to the island, but our job is to bring people from outside of 50 miles or 75 miles or whatever that circumference is.
Where does that come from, though? That's a self-inflicted requirement, is my issue.
I think
My
it's-
question is, I mean, if y'all all agree that that should be the.
That's our understanding of it
Yeah.
based on the way the statute was presented to me in my orientation. So if we've completely missed the mark on that, that goes back for a long
Well,
time.
that's a question I do have.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah, that is
it's
the.
kind of a self-inflicted over time rule that's been implemented, but there's no, when you go back to.
We'll answer, that's a
origination.
deeper, I
Yeah.
think it's based in the statute, but is there there's definitely gray area in the statute, but I think that is our plain reading of the statute for this group. When it comes to the grants, our grants are not specifically addressed in the statute, but that's the kind of lineage as it comes from the statute through this organization's rules of procedures and guidance. And it's definitely what we've adhered to and the purpose that we've all kind of agreed to on the grants. If we wanted to upend that, we could consider that. We could look into it, but that's been the
Yeah.
standard applied for years.
But that, again, I was kind of getting back from that is it a good idea, face value, but if it doesn't fit into the grants, let us know that at council that we think this is a good idea, it just doesn't fit. That's the difference from saying, we don't think it's a good idea and the city shouldn't do it.
I don't know that we should even judge whether, it's a beautiful video, no doubt about it. So yeah, it's a nice video, but that doesn't mean I support ATAX money to pay for it,
Right.
right? I would support ATAX money to put all new signs on each beach path so people can find their way on and off the beach, which affects both tourists and people who
Yeah.
are renting, and it's desperately needed. So you can take that.
I think that ultimately, I agree with you. It's almost a three-pronged approach, right? The way it was presented to us in its current form, in the current grant application, to me, there's an overlap. So I can't support that, right?
Yeah.
I would say that if it were honed down and we have this discussion, Douglas, you're talking about where it's within our purview to support the local businesses and we're not focused on heads and beds, then I think that's different. But that's not been my instruction the whole time. And I've been on for a couple of years. So I think let's get clarity on that. So I think today my recommendation is that we move to, what's the right terminology here? Douglas, keep me straight. That we don't recommend the grant application in its current form to the city council.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be appropriate.
And that's not a negative towards
No, no,
anything
no,
towards the chamber. It's like, look, here's what we have, here's what we know. We can't recommend this going forward. But there's always just room for discussion, right?
In terms of it being a positive motion, what's the correct
Someone
terminology?
may need to make a motion to approve the application as presented,
And
and
then
then
vote
they
it
all
down.
just vote against it.
I make
Yeah.
a motion, we approve the application has been presented.
But if your intent is to not approve it, you would vote in the nay.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Someone's gotta-
Motion
So I
should be in
second
the
it. I
affirmative.
second it. All in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Or nay.
Oh, no, no,
Nay.
nay,
Nay.
nay,
Okay, good.
nay.
Thank you all for that discussion. I think that was very helpful, and I think that puts the
And-
right color on things.
Yeah, and we'll work between this meeting and your next meeting on just providing information on the basis of obviously the term heads and beds is not in a state law, but we'll give the context of how that's happened over time.
Right.
The basis
If
for
you
it.
take it out, then you have to only watch me stumble
Yeah.
for the rest of the year.
There's another question that, on the application, it will say, what's the return? You know, as opposed to just giving money out here and giving money out here. What's the return? And that, to me, maybe I don't understand it enough, but it needs to be defined. What is a return? Is it a financial return? Is it a marketing return? What type of
Right.
return is it talking about? Because I've questioned several things that we've given money out to that nothing has ever come back from it, or we have not documented. Maybe we don't have a way of saying, how did you find this place? Did you find it through da da da? You know, a way to monitor
Right.
if what we're doing is working. When I ran my laboratories, the biggest expense and the one I had to tackle the hardest is not the manufacturing cost, supply cost, personnel cost. What I had to tackle was the marketing cost. Where was the bang for the buck? What did we do that brought people away from LabCorp or Quest to Triad Clinical Lab? What did we do? We just spending money like $30,000 a month for a big sign on I-40. You know, do we do something like that? Do we do it on TV ads? I mean, trying to decide, because you can spend a lot of money and get almost very little results for marketing because it's intangible.
Right. And I think we're doing a better job with that through the application
Right.
process. I think like for the next two we're going to discuss, we've got more data on that, right? So
That's correct.
I think we're doing, as we advance kind of this process, we're doing a better job of, especially for repeat requests,
Yes.
that we're saying, okay, here's how you performed last
Yeah,
year.
that's really where you get to it.
That's right.
But to your point, if we had a one-time, applicant that never came back, you would probably lose a little bit of the ability to kind of do a full closeout and understand it. But, it might be that you all approved it on its face as a good idea. If they don't come back, it probably indicates it didn't, it either didn't pan out, but you're not having to consider it again. So I do think that you definitely have the ability with the repeat applicants, which it seems to kind of be, to really investigate, look at, ask questions. And that's,
Yeah.
the application is a little bit cumbersome. I mean, it's a big application but I think it's intended to capture that. Like, tell us, this is your opportunity to tell us and make the sales pitch
Yes.
back to us
Right.
that it's been a success.
And I know we discussed in the last meeting, or maybe after the last meeting, was to make sure that we have part of that feedback loop somewhere along the way
Yeah.
prior to the next, so maybe the November, December timeframe, where we would say, okay, grantee, come back in and give us your feedback and your results if you've had your event already.
Yeah.
And not just have that as a part of the application, but it's almost like before you even apply, don't
Tell us how
bother
it
if
went.
you can't
Yes.
present that data to us. So I think that's a great comment, Rebecca. And I think we're getting more disciplined about it
Yeah,
as we go
I would
forward. We're
agree.
not, as nobody here wants to take this money out. This is hard-earned money that we don't want to just throw out into the universe.
right.
Okay, great. The next one for consideration is the infrastructure booking software upgrades, if you guys will recall, for the Lutheran Coastal Retreat Center. Do we have a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss.
Margaret seconded. Okay. Any
I was over
discussion?
there the other night, and the money we gave them for the parking lot was well spent. What a difference. So,
Yes.
right.
And I think that if we think about the fundamentals of what this is, and Douglas, thank you, by the way, for checking out to make sure from a statute perspective that we were okay to support infrastructure in such a way. And this one in particular, if we're sticking with our heads and beds thing for the meeting today, this one is driven around them being able to not only handle bookings properly, reservations properly, but then to capture that data on the backside. So they're sort of answering the bell.
That's
Kind of on passively answering the bell for this. And so in 6 months' time or a year's time, we can look back and say, you've got the software implemented. How are we able to use this to benefit bringing more people to the island, which is what we're all about. So I thought that, for a small operation, I think that they did a nice job sort of laying that out for us. Any more discussion? Mike, any comments from you?
No, I agree. The parking lot looks great. I like the software to bring more people here. And my only comment, it's a prominent piece of real estate. If we can help them with the beautification, so it makes more of an impact as you drive on the island, I think we would have checked a lot of boxes.
Great, good. Any other discussion? All right. Do we have a motion to make a recommendation?
Come on, step up.
Somebody
ladies.
else.
Okay. I recommend
I can't
that-
vote. Barb's carrying the mail over here.
Yeah.
And also
today.
remember, for these, you're gonna have to put in the dollar amount. Right now, if you're gonna approve something, you gotta approve a dollar amount.
Okay,
And their request, I think, was 12,000 for the software.
that's right, yeah.
And you could, going forward for the next request, you could make a motion to approve and then discuss and then just vote on the motion. So you're not having to clunk through
Double motion.
two
Yeah.
motions.
Okay, all right.
All right, I make a motion we discuss.
No, you,
No, we've already
now
done that.
you're
Oh,
approve.
okay.
Make a motion to approve.
I would approve, yes. I make a
Second.
motion to approve the 12,000. Well, that's quick, Barbara.
Hey,
Okay, so we're voting on $12,000. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Excellent. All right.
Wish they were all that easy.
All right, the next one on the list is the Island School Literacy Events, Miss Mary Alice Monroe. And I don't have it on the tip of my tongue what the dollar amount is.
40,000. I think.
40,000.
I believe that's 40,000.
Thought it was 45.
I apologize. I had it in my head and then my head started rattling around.
I should look before
I think it's 40.
I will trust others.
amount as listed.
I think it's,
Yes, for
40,000.
page 39, 45.
No,
It's page 39 of the packet is
40,000.
40,000.
40,000. Okay, great. Thank you, Douglas. Okay, so the next item is the Island School Literacy Event. Do I have a motion to discuss the $40,000 amount that Mary Alice Monroe has requested?
Or approve that amount.
Motion to
Motion to
approve.
approve that amount.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve.
Second,
Okay, now we can do discussion.
Yeah.
We're rookies here, David.
That's right.
I've been here the longest and I'm still a rookie.
Okay, so now we can do discussion.
Discussion, yeah.
So we need discussion.
well, it's a hugely successful event, having attended it for 22 years and seen it grow. I think they sell out. And this year, if you've looked at their application, they even give the zip codes where everyone was
Yes.
from and everything. They did a fantastic job in their presentation, I think.
Yes, they did.
And their partnership with Buxton Books, I think, just even enhances it more since they're developing more events.
The Oprah connection or
The
whatever. that
Oprah,
was,
yeah, okay.
I think that, to be on record with this, I think that if we were looking for a gold standard in terms of the way that an event positions itself and then the way the event reports on itself, we can all sleep at night knowing that we've closed the loop nicely. She goes to great lengths, but I also think it's great that it's a learning process through working with the ATAX committee over the years to be able to have the data to document it and to be able to grow it. And I've got every idea that this thing might, with the intervention of Oprah's book club, might become, quite, might stand on its own two legs in the near future. So I just want to compliment on record Miss Mary Alice and her team for putting that together.
And for putting Isle of Palms on the map, because a
That's
lot
right.
of people did not know
That's right.
until they started reading the books.
And it's a different group, it's a different time of year. So it's got a lot, it checks a lot of boxes. So so we've already got a motion to approve. Okay, so I can
Is
say
this
all
one I
in favor.
should?
Huh?
I'm going to recuse myself from this vote since I'm a good friend of Mary Alice's, and she and I are actually having a book event. So, which has nothing to do with this money at all. It's a self-sustaining event, but just on the side of being conservative.
So we have a quorum, and Douglas and I have discussed this. We have a quorum, so the three of us that are in person can vote. And if we all vote in favor of it, then it can move forward based on the fact that we have a quorum. Mike can't vote because he's online. We're addressing that separately. So if we have all in favor, then it can advance to as a recommendation to the council.
Well, I'd make a recommendation that we accept her
Okay.
Request
All
of
you're doing is
$40,000.
Oh,
voting
yeah.
now.
Oh, yeah.
The motion
Voting.
that's already on the floor.
So
all you
all
have to do is vote.
basically all in favor.
Yes.
Yay. All right. Any opposed? All right. Good. Thank you again, Nicole.
I don't know if I did anything.
Okay, the fourth thing on the list is, as we just heard from Ms. LaVonda Brown, her application for the MLK event. I think I'll handle this one differently because I think we needed to make sure we have a motion to discuss. And then if we decide we wish to vote, we can, or we are within our purveyance to push it out for a vote in May.
Well, when you call for a vote or present it as a vote, then you go into discussion.
Right.
And then whenever you decide the discussion's over, then you just call for the vote. You don't
But-
have to
but-
actually
no.
make a
But
motion.
they may not actually
We may not
Vote
vote on this today.
on this one.
They can defer then.
Then you can defer.
Right.
As the discussion goes, if you feel like then you
Yeah.
just,
So just leave it for discussion for now. And if we defer or.
no,
we
go
decide-
ahead and bring it up to a.
So motion to approve. Okay.
Right.
Motion to vote. Okay.
Second.
Okay. And the dollar amount here is, I think I had it as 6,000.
10,000, I think 10,000,
10,000?
10.
I thought, okay.
Okay. So motion to approve with discussion. So open discussion based on what we've read and what Ms. Brown presented today.
I
still
think
don't-
she did a good presentation, and I think it's a feather in the cap of Isle of Palms to do this. I think it broadens the MLK experience, and it does bring people to the island. And I think she's sincerely working on the heads and beds part. So I would be all for it.
And
I would be supportive as well. I do think, Rebecca, you brought it up, the numbers were low. And I'd like to see a little bit more about what we're doing to plan to get more people in. I think Tom has not been her friend in the past, but they're ahead of it. A little more detail, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Would give me more comfort that we would deliver a much better return. But I like the idea.
So from a committee perspective, and this is just a question, I mean, I about this full circle moment with being able to get the grant application, award the grants, get feedback on the grants and close that loop. I think that this is another great example is if we can provide that level of feedback to Ms. Brown and have become more integrated. I think the worst thing we can do is to give out a grant or make a recommendation to council to give a grant, and then it goes into kind of a black hole. So I think that this is a great opportunity for us to I think it's I personally think it's a fantastic opportunity for the island. I think from an ATAX perspective, we should use this as another test case if we can give her support year round and help make sure she's going in the right direction. That it only benefits her, it benefits the event, and it benefits the island. So I think we have a vote on it. Any further discussion or comments?
I agree with Mike. I think it needs to be looked into a little bit more because, again, just 3 or 4 people coming here and then going back, and the rest of them, I don't know how many have attended, going back to other places. But I think we need to look into it a little bit more. She's trying to put together I'm for what she's trying to do, but I want to see if we can look at, and Mike has offered his help too, to see if we can get them on the track to bringing in really more people and doing more events. I'm not totally against this, but I would like to see a little more investigative
Sure.
on this.
I think it's about
And
raising the
part-
expectations for grantees as well, right? I think they shouldn't just come here and ask for money and disappear, right? So I think that kind of creates that whole ecosystem we're talking about. Mike, go ahead.
I just agree with you, the partnership angle, to sit down and see how we can support Ms. Brown, what resources she has. Handling the outreach, are there targets that she's not communicating with? Is there additional earned media that we can generate? There's a lot of things to explore.
So who would be exploring these things? I mean, she brought up pretty specific information about sending out stuff and whatever. I mean, we're not going to get involved in telling her how to event.
I think Mike is offering it basically probably outside of his ATAX responsibility.
Outside of this,
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
based on his professional acumen. So, okay. I vote in favor. Aye.
Wait, aye.
Any opposed?
Right. So your motion to approve the 10,000.
Yeah.
Second.
We've had the
We did that,
motion,
I'm
but
saying
we're
all the votes.
calling for the vote and then all in favor of
Aye.
approving 10,000 for the
Yeah.
MLK event. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm going to oppose, but you all are in the majority.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So then it doesn't move forward as recommended because Rebecca voted against it, correct?
No,
Oh,
it
that's
does.
right.
A
It does.
majority,
Majority.
majority
Okay, all right.
recommends approval.
Good, okay.
I just
So it does
wanted
move
on
forward as a
record.
recommendation to council.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, the next item is the discussion of the fiscal year 27 budget for state accommodation tax funds. As we know, Deborah's not here. So if we want to have any questions, we can list them out now, or we can email Nicole separately, correct?
Correct.
That's correct. And I may, if they're high level, I can answer them. I'm thinking, but if you've got kind of nitty gritty, detailed questions about the budget, we'd probably want Deborah here.
I don't know that there's anything. I don't think. we
Yeah.
had-
Well-
Yeah.
I think it's largely not a copy and paste, but it's tracking along with prior years' budget models, how they were developed, the things they include.
The biggest thing is their buckets that move around, like something doesn't happen this year, it pushes the next year and,
Yeah.
and some of those things, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's any, I didn't see anything in there that was like a step change from the year over year that I've seen.
Well, something very small. And I've made an issue of this before. It seemed like, and I'm not against fireworks, but every community has their fireworks, and I watch them from my rooftop every year. Is there a way that, and people do come over here for them, but we had them on Sullivan's Island and Mount Pleasant and Charleston and North Charleston. Is there a way that we can tone that down, because expense keeps almost doubling from the time we first started? And my comment from the former accountant was that, well, it just costs, the pyrotechnics cost more every year. That's a small thing, but I see it too in the process of the budget. You don't have a percent. The way the budget's written now, it's very hard to even read. What percent of the revenue are we budgeting toward what any given expense? We need to stay in line and say, okay, 3% of the budget should be this, 10% should be that, and then a question if it goes outside that budget. But we really need to because again, it's the expenses. to make money, you either have to grow your your income or take reign of your expenses. There's no way. It seems like the more income that comes in, especially during the COVID days, the more we seem to spend. And I think we need to look as a committee at every single item, and not today, but every single item on this budget and see, is it getting out of hand? And
Question, is that our purview to?
Now that's what the thing I asked of Douglas. Are we responsible for this? Is the Ways and Means Committee responsible?
Yes.
Who is responsible for looking at that this budget doesn't, grow? I've seen it over the years. I've been here since 2002, and I've seen it grow legs and more legs. And it grew a lot of legs during COVID. It's like there was so much money coming in. And now with COVID over and the income dropping, we still seem to be spending like we were in the COVID days. But is it our purview or is it another committee?
At the end of the day, it is council's purview
Okay.
on where the kind of allocations go. That's, if you see something out of line, you would make a recommendation to council. But at the end of the day, it is their purview. And I don't know if specifically, I will just say that fireworks specifically were increased in this year's budget based on it being the 250-year anniversary. There's an additional padding in there for that one line item for this year that I expect it to go back to more normal levels next year, but that line is inflated this year specifically.
But that wasn't it. I mean, it was just a symptom of the entire budget. I see the expense is expanding, but since that's not our purview, and another question I would like to ask: are we only what percent is the ATAX committee responsible for? I mean, of course, we're only a review committee. We don't
Right.
make the decisions, but are we responsible for looking at everything, or just that tiny little sliver?
Just the state accommodations tax allocations. I mean, which is a tiny part of the city's budget, but that is your purview to review and recommend on the state ATAX.
And we can't, but our responsibility doesn't go outside of that that narrow, 2% or whatever.
No,
It's more than 2% of the, so this is the entire state ATAX
Yes.
bucket that you're looking at here.
Yes,
And that's a recommendation on the allocation of that entire bucket.
all right.
I think there has been some gray areas with that. I think that, and I'm glad.
that's what I was kind of getting back into
Yeah.
is I think the committee as a whole has input, I guess, into the entire ATAX that comes in.
Right.
Or the state this bucket of ATAX.
Yeah.
Like the grants, that's a separate, that's a money set aside that actually awarding grants, but the just recommendations from general of, because again, looking through this budget does this group, and that's what I'm looking at from a council standpoint, is does this group agree that this is not just a legitimate ATAX expense, but it's something that the city should be doing with that money? I mean, whether it's legitimate, the staff will kick stuff out or rearrange. But again, it's like the fireworks. I mean, regardless, should we be spending that part of that money for a fireworks show?
Yeah.
And if y'all as a community think no, kick it back up to council. Council may override it, but
I think that gets into the ecosystem discussion, David. And I think that's a part that we've tried to bubble up in the past. And I think there's been some frustration within this committee. I think that on paper, I agree with you that we should have a little bit more say. I would think in practice, we've kind of been put into this bucket of you get the $75,000 of grant money and everything else is kind of outside of your view. I don't know where that came from. Again, I think we're talking about some historical.
I think it's been historical over time. Yeah.
So I think we need to, my recommendation to this group is that now that we have interaction with council, because we've never have had interaction with council unless we went and asked specifically for office hours with the mayor, that was the only interaction that we had. So I think that this would be a good springboard to being able to sit down and not just have the budget put in front of us. Like if there's workshops or whatever else, if indeed, to Douglas's point, we're responsible for the entire bucket, then we should be more involved, because it's impossible. And if you're not dealing with a financial person who can sit down and study the spreadsheets and really do some analysis, then we're really kind of left in our little $75,000 bucket. So I don't know how we do that. I don't want to put more meetings on y'all's calendar, but if we decide as a group and you're supportive of that we should be more involved, then we need to find a way to make that work. And maybe that dead time in the fall when we don't have as many meetings because we've kind of gotten through the budgeting process, the grant making process, that maybe there's a way to start being a part of that development phase of the budget. If we come back now and Rebecca's concerned about the fireworks thing, it's probably too little too late. It's April, right?
Yeah.
But if in October we're looking at it and we're like, okay, this is crazy. We need to take another look at this, because the fire department, the police department, everybody comes in and gets their money for their operating budgets out of the ATAX bucket. It's too late for me to say, hey, they don't need another ATV at the police station. Like, that's not happening today. So I don't know how we do that, guys, from a city perspective, and I don't want to belabor the point today, but I love the fact that we're able to have that conversation, because I do feel like we've been pigeonholed as a committee to the grants, for better or for worse, right? If it was intentional, if somebody felt put upon, doesn't matter at this point in time. It's a new day.
I couldn't have said that better myself.
And I think
sales.
I think we talked at the end of last year about this group identify. I would advocate for the way that happens, and we're welcome to get into kind of line item discussions of the budget. What I would think would be useful is if this group were to identify initiatives,
Right.
like, hey, we want to do beautification on streets. Like, how do we push that initiative forward? To me, that would be the kind of useful work of figuring out initiatives and projects, and then and unfortunately those are very long lead time type items. It does take kind of planning it 2 years in advance, gets into the next year's budget, and I'll say I think the Environmental Advisory Committee has done a good job of saying, hey, we want to focus on water testing. Let's put something in the budget for next year but to your point, it happens that all of the grant applications, all of the budget, it's all kind of happening here at the beginning of the year, and you're at a fever pitch for the beginning, and then it kind of gets launched, and then you slow down for a portion of the year. So that might be the planning time of like, hey, let's talk as a committee about what we want to support directionally, where do we want to go, and then we would just work through like what do you want to plug into what budget? And
I think that's great. Yeah. So in May we'll have the meeting, and we'll have a presentation from CVB. You guys vote. When do y'all vote on the budget? In May or June?
May and June. May is first reading.
Right. So the new
June
fiscal year is July 1st.
Yeah,
right?
on this year's budget, again, unless something just stood out, it's really,
too late.
it's too late, but gets back to your point of next year, again, we were talking about that before, which if the committee wants to see it, I guess would be there a high level that, X% going to public safety, X% going here, X% going there, and starting to form that so that we can.
I think that's what, if people were to look at the ATAS estimate, I think they would think that that's more what we're doing versus what we're actually doing.
Right.
And so I support that wholeheartedly. So we can make it happen. So when we go to set the agenda, Nicole, for future meetings, we just say this is what we're going to discuss. We're moving on from the grants, and so for the Q2 or Q3 of the year, that's going to be our focus.
Yeah,
is leading up to the next year's budget, and then in Q4 we start looking at the grants and making sure we've closed that loop, and then we get back into 2027 calendar year. Cool. Thank you all for that discussion. That's very helpful. I like the open-mindedness of that. Anything else from anyone? I know I can't do new business, Nicole, but I'd like to challenge you anyway. So our next meeting is set for Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 at 10 a.m.
I would just say miscellaneous,
please.
Just for future discussions, we do have a request for proposals out for branding. That is money that's been set aside by the CVB for an effort of the city. It's been in our budget. We're out now for proposals. We'll have proposals back beginning part of May, and it is anticipated that this group would be kind of the sounding board and reviewing those proposals to identify a firm to handle a branding effort. So that's in the pipeline, something that'll be coming to this group for your review.
Is this in addition to what we pay CVB?
That project is actually being funded through the CVB is paying for that.
Yeah, we're not approving money for it, right, Douglas?
That's correct.
We've already ostensibly approved the money for it.
Yes.
So now we get to be a potential sounding board for it. So it's not no more money out of pocket for.
Yeah,
this
it's
group.
coming from the CVB.
Right.
Being funded by the CVB as part of their
But then-
support
but-
efforts.
But we increased did we not increase our money to the CVB for
That's
the
just-
branding?
No,
No,
It's
we-
fixed.
It's fixed, all
Yeah,
right.
it's Fixed percentage.
Yeah. I move to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Hey, Park,
Thank you all very much.
And thank
Good,
you,
off record at 10:55.
Mr.